Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kanini and I am the Director of Investment at the East Africa Trade and Investment Hub. We are an 8-country initiative, and our focus is on attracting private capital by trying to connect investors who want to deploy that capital and with investee companies who need that capital. So we run a large transaction advisory team that covers Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Madagascar. And I'm also on the board of the Global Innovation Fund, which is an impact fund that is focused on investing in emerging innovations with a social impact focus. Thank you.
Kanini, now the views which Aditana has mentioned, it now appears that the debate is heating up. The USAID is a East Africa Trade Hub, and USAID is a very grounded organization, and for you technology definitely means the traditional technology and not the apps, right? So for you, there are different priorities, and food security is the main focus for you. And when we look at what is needed in Eastern Africa, while there may be a debate, but whether we need a drone first or a tractor first, but obviously you have an opinion on that, and how you look at these new technologies which are coming up, and how you have gone ahead and invested into some of these companies and supported these companies in terms of trade and also investment. And what is your experience? What are the failures? Have you seen some failures? Have you seen some successes?
So I'll just start off by disagreeing with my fellow panelists around the whole app question, because, you know, looking at this from an investor standpoint, I think one thing that we have learned is never invest on the cusp of hype. And I'm sorry to say that in the East Africa region, we are on a big hype around, you know, some very exciting concepts like, you know, robotics, sensors, using a robot on a farm, you know, artificial intelligence, some really, really exciting things. But what we have learned as investors is you need to come in when the hype has died. You need to come in when there is proof that the innovation works, that the innovation has scale, and that the innovation can actually make money and bring in social impact at the end of the day. So for us, agri-tech is not about apps. For us, agri-tech is about solving very simple problems, using very simple methods, and executing simply. So I'll give an example. One of the things that we're all struggling with is how to get mechanization used much more by farmers, and I'm sure that's something that Rand thinks about a lot. I think there's an average of about less than 20 tractors per 100 kilometers on the continent. So one of the things that we think has been very exciting is using the Uber economy to bring in mechanization. So there is a company called Hello Tractor based in West Africa, Nigeria, which has an Uber-like platform where smallholder farmers are able to order, book a very specific service, such as plowing or tilling the land, and they're able to prepay it for a certain period of time, and that equipment comes to their farm. Now, that means they don't have to spend money on buying a piece of equipment, they don't have to lease it. All they're doing is basically using the Uber model to get mechanization on their farm. For us, those are the sorts of innovations that we're excited about. Very simple, very frugal, and I like to use the word frugal. Frugal means innovation that is at low cost and executed in a low cost manner. So that's one thing I'd like to put out. I think the second thing on agri-tech investment is that people don't realize that as an investor, you have to have patient capital. And patient capital means that, and I think this is something that Village Capital has understood, Patient capital means that you will not make an exit on your investment within the first 9 years. Trust me, you will not. And if people come into the market with Silicon Valley type money, which is really flowing in East Africa, I have to say, we have far too much capital in that market that is not aligned to that economy. I will say that with, very, very strongly. We need patient capital. We don't need Silicon Valley type capital, because you need a holding period of about 10 to 12 years before you exit or even start to see an IRR that looks anything higher than 5%. So as long as we don't have that capital coming into the region for agri-tech, we're going to have lots of failures, we're going to have lots of disappointments, and we're going to have a lot of investors getting burnt and walking away and feeling that this is not a region that is ready for investment. So I think this is something that I really feel we should probably talk a little bit more about, because I don't think us as investors are doing a good job, making this very, very clear. So just to bring up one company that I think we were the lead transaction investors on, and they are Twiga. They're called Twiga Foods. And what Twiga has done is they have disrupted the path between the farm gate and the market. Again, very simple, very frugal innovation, where they have simply found a way to help farmers who are growing bananas to get their bananas from the farm gate to the market using a very, very well-coordinated logistical process. And what they're doing is that they're helping people who sell those bananas in the urban areas to be able to access them without going to the marketplace at 4 a.m. in the morning. So they've really disrupted that space, which has so much potential for loss, from post-harvest losses to poor prices offered to farmers and to high levels of inefficiency. So Twiga does that using a mobile platform, and we were one of the lead advisors for their $10 million raise 3 months ago. So again, another example of frugal innovation, accessing or trying to solve a very specific problem and doing it at a scale that in my mind seems reasonable enough.
Thank you.
I want to say a comment, please.
Yes.
So I just wanted to come back to something that Rand said around human capital, because this is something as investors we have very quickly realized. We did some research, actually Village Capital participated in this as well, and the question that was asked to entrepreneurs in the ag-tech sector was, what do you really need to make your businesses work and scale well? And everyone expected them to say more money, more equity, more debt. But the response was, entrepreneurs need more than just money. So that's actually a realization that we have now, that entrepreneurs just don't want the check written. They want you to join their board to help them solve their own problems. So any investor who's going to go around signing checks but not providing any form of human capital support around governance, around pricing, around linking to markets, is basically wasting their time, because actually that's not what entrepreneurs need. So I just wanted to make that point, that if you do have investors in the audience, the fact that you have capital doesn't make you attractive to these entrepreneurs. And when you don't provide the additional human capital element, that relationship will not work and you will not make your returns.
Well, thank you very much to all the speakers. I'd like to address my question to my sister from Kenya, Mutoni.
Kanini.
Yes. I've heard the whole story around Hello Tractor. And all of this is geared towards increasing on-farm productivity. And that is in line, actually, with Malabo Declaration. By the way, my name is Yemi Akimbamijo, Executive Director of FARA. The big question is not doubling productivity by Hello Tractor, by giving fertilizers, and so on. I think the biggest challenge is, what do you do with the biomass you produce when you've doubled or quadrupled your produce. You must be able to do something with that translates into profit, into improved livelihoods and so on. And that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where we falter. So my question then is, what is the position of the institutions like the three of you represented there on the table? What are you doing to bridge that gap between the farm gate and the table? You can do everything to double the productivity, but then who takes it on from there? That's where the challenge is. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say, I mean, that's a very good question. We have actually invested in 2 companies that do biomass. They actually, one is a flower farm, and they had lots of flower stems, because it was cut flower farm that had accumulated, and they were actually using that to produce biomass, and that biomass was used to produce energy for the farm. So to be honest, this is an area that we're very interested in from the perspective of facilitating investment. And you know, so I totally agree with your point. It's definitely an area for investment, and it's something that we're looking at right now. But there are challenges around this. The key challenges are, what technology do you use to produce that biomass? In lots of cases, the amount of energy that's being produced is very small. And then the other thing is scope and mission creep. Because if you're a flower farm and you're producing cut flowers for export, what are you doing on the other side, you know, producing biomass? You know, it's, in some businesses, we see that as splitting the business in half, which may not necessarily help the core business. But I think that's a great point.